On November 29, 1970, hikers walking through a remote valley outside the Norwegian city of Bergen made a disturbing discovery. The area was known as Isdalen, or Ice Valley, a rugged, isolated stretch of wilderness surrounded by steep hills and dense vegetation. For years, locals had associated the valley with accidents, disappearances, and tragedy. But what those hikers found that afternoon would turn Isdalen into the setting of one of Europe's most enduring mysteries. Lying among the rocks was the burned body of a woman. At first glance, the scene looked unusual. The body had been severely damaged by fire, but scattered nearby were a number of personal items. Investigators found melted bottles, pieces of clothing, a broken umbrella, jewelry, and what appeared to be remnants of documents. The woman had been positioned in a way that suggested she had not simply collapsed where she stood. Police quickly arrived and secured the area. As they examined the scene, several strange details emerged. The woman carried no identification. There was no passport, no driver's license, and no personal documents that could reveal who she was. Even more unusual, every label had been removed from her clothing. The tags had been carefully cut out. Whoever this woman was, her identity had been deliberately concealed. The investigation began immediately. The autopsy revealed that the woman had died from a combination of carbon monoxide poisoning and burns. Toxicology tests detected a large amount of sleeping pills in her system. The official cause of death appeared consistent with suicide, but many investigators were not convinced. The circumstances surrounding the case felt wrong. The fire had burned intensely, yet several items nearby remained relatively intact. The location was remote and difficult to access. There were signs that significant effort had been taken to erase the woman's identity before her death. As detectives searched for answers, the mystery only deepened. A breakthrough came when investigators discovered 2 suitcases stored at Bergen railway station. The luggage appeared to belong to the dead woman. Inside, police found clothing, wigs, cosmetics, maps, and various personal items, but once again, every identifying label had been removed. The contents offered no obvious clue about her real name. Instead, investigators found something far more puzzling. Among the belongings were notebooks containing coded entries. The notes appeared to document travel dates, locations, and movements across Europe. At first, the markings made little sense. Eventually, investigators determined that the codes corresponded to cities, hotels, and specific dates. The woman had traveled extensively. Records showed she had visited Norway multiple times and had also traveled through countries including Germany, Switzerland, France, and Belgium. As detectives retraced her movements, a remarkable pattern emerged. The woman rarely stayed in one place for long. She frequently checked into hotels using different names. Sometimes she claimed to be Belgian. Other times she presented herself as French. In some locations she spoke German, in others she spoke English. Hotel employees remembered her because she often appeared elegant, well-dressed, and unusually private. Several witnesses later described her as attractive, confident, and intelligent. But they also recalled strange behavior. She often requested rooms with a view. She changed rooms frequently. She avoided casual conversation. Some witnesses reported that she appeared to be watching people around her. Others said she seemed nervous whenever someone asked personal questions. By the time investigators finished compiling the evidence, they had identified at least 8 different aliases connected to the woman. None of them were real. Every identity led nowhere. It was as though she had spent years moving across Europe while carefully avoiding any trace of her true self. The investigation expanded internationally. Police contacted authorities across Europe. Fingerprints were checked against criminal databases. Missing persons reports were reviewed. Embassies were contacted. No match was found. The woman remained completely unidentified. As investigators examined her travel patterns more closely, speculation began to grow. This was 1970. Europe was deep in the Cold War. Intelligence agencies operated throughout the continent. Espionage was common, and certain details in the case appeared difficult to ignore. The coded notebooks, the multiple aliases, the constant travel. the removal of identifying information. Some investigators wondered whether the Isdal woman had been involved in intelligence work. Witness statements added fuel to the theory. One witness reported seeing the woman near military testing areas in Norway. Another claimed she was accompanied by unidentified men during portions of her travels. Several reports suggested she demonstrated awareness of military activities occurring in locations she visited. Yet, despite decades of speculation, no direct evidence ever confirmed that she was a spy. The theory remained only that, a theory. Meanwhile, forensic investigators continued searching for clues. Dental examinations revealed extensive dental work that suggested she may have spent part of her life in Central or Southern Europe. Analysis of her appearance led experts to estimate she was between 30 and 40 years old. She had dark hair and brown eyes, but none of these details produced a definitive identification. Years passed. The mystery remained unsolved. Then, decades later, advances in forensic science brought renewed attention to the case. Investigators re-examined preserved evidence using modern techniques. Isotope analysis of the woman's teeth provided new insights into where she may have spent her childhood. The results suggested she likely grew up somewhere in Central Europe, possibly in regions affected by population movements following World War II. While the findings narrowed the search somewhat, they still failed to reveal her identity. In 2016, renewed media attention sparked one of the most extensive reviews of the case in decades. Journalists, forensic experts, and investigators revisited old evidence. Witnesses were re-interviewed, records were re-examined. The public once again became fascinated by the mystery. New theories emerged. Some researchers suggested the woman may have been involved in intelligence gathering. Others believed she could have been connected to organized crime. Some argued that she was simply a private individual attempting to conceal aspects of her past. Yet every theory faced the same obstacle. There was never enough evidence to prove it. The central mystery remained untouched. Who was she? Even today, investigators cannot answer that question with certainty. More than half a century after her death, the Isdal woman remains unidentified. No family has definitively claimed her, no government has confirmed her identity, no document has emerged revealing her true name. The woman who traveled across Europe under multiple aliases simply vanished into history. What remains is a collection of clues: a burned body in a remote valley, suitcases filled with coded notes, a trail of false identities stretching across international borders, and a mystery that has resisted every attempt at resolution. The Isdal Woman case continues to occupy a unique place in criminal history because it exists at the intersection of forensic science, international investigation, and Cold War intrigue. Unlike many unsolved cases, investigators possess a significant amount of information about her movements. They know where she traveled. They know many of the names she used. They know where she stayed. Yet the most basic fact remains unknown: her identity. For over 50 years, countless investigators, journalists, and amateur researchers have tried to solve the puzzle. And despite all that effort, the woman discovered in Norway's Ice Valley remains a stranger. A person who appeared across Europe, left traces everywhere she went, and then disappeared without a name. Until that final question is answered, the Isdal woman will remain one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries of the 20th century.